did you survive, Moshe? Huh? It's good? Yeah? Abba Greenberg? Huh?
Very nice.
Uh-huh.
How was the wedding?
The wedding was fine. I'm sure you got reports.
Yeah, it's a weird skizzer.
Huh?
The skizzer was a little bit unexpected. No brain. Shy for me.
Well, you could have been with Abba Greenberg.
No, we went there on Friday morning. Thursday we weren't there. Thursday we passed the night in a
Well,
motel.
Thursday night you were in the hotel. So Friday morning is still Chav Kislev. Still Chaparayim.
We made not for raining, but we...
Moshe Zalman. Who else is missing? Nobody else is missing? All right. So what do we remember of Chesed and Gvura? Mm-hmm. Why not?
Chesed means to just give. Even if you don't deserve it, Chesed just wants to do good. And the war is the opposite. Only if you deserve it, you can get it. If you don't deserve it, don't.
Mm-hmm.
If you meet one in chesed of God, so you start loving, like bonus of nefesh to the kids.
You're asking me or you're saying?
I say,
Yeah.
that's what we study about chesed and gvura, yeah?
Yeah. I explained Chesed and Gvura. We're just getting into this, yeah. So what do you remember? What do you say?
I think we was talking about the bonus of nefesh elokit. If you born in God, how He's worship, so you start to love God.
Oh, we didn't get to that yet. I was just explaining what is the meaning of Chesed. What type of quality is this? What is the nature of Chesed?
Why not?
Yeah.
Somebody asks me, why not?
That's it.
And
This
Gvura
is
is
important.
why yes.
Right. Gvura has to be precise and there has to be an exact demand, such and such. Chesed is just an open hand. That's right. Good. I'm glad that we caught it and remember it. Okay, so you all know where you're up to? Yes?
Generally, like, I know on which half of the page, I think.
It's too better than that.
Did we get up to if you do a job with Makale V'Yidim Rafik?
The line before that. Midas Chesed and Gvura. Shein Bav, and the line begins with Mido Miprat. But there's a Seichel v'Hasaga that pertains to each Midah individually. Okay? We have that Mido Miprat. And he started, for each Midah he says, there's a different seichel v'hasog, because we explained before this that midos follow the seichel. That which a person recognizes in his seichel, this is what's going to be reflected in his midos. Just to take you away a little bit from this, from the text. In human nature, there are different perceptions that people have, perceptions, different views, different ways that people understand their lives and the world. There is one person who perceives, who views, who sees the world as a good world. He looks around and he sees all the abundance. You know what abundance means? The unlimited resource. That clear? Unlimited, you know what unlimited means?
Yeah.
Resource means resource that Hashem has provided in the world. He relates to everything in the world that is good. And there is good in abundance. Like the sun rises in the morning, the sun gives light in abundance. Not like a candle that just gives you a little bit light. It illuminates the whole world. And illuminates it totally unlimited, with unlimitless light. Nothing is being restrained. Nothing is being held back. And then he reflects on his own life, and he realizes, Baruch Hashem, you live in a normal country, that really the opportunities that one has are completely without limit. There is nothing restraining a person, nothing limiting a person where he can go, what he can do. If he puts himself into doing something and he understands it, he can accomplish almost anything. Because there is an abundance of resource, an abundance of blessing in the world. When the person reflects on that, person who has this attitude, he has a feeling of a good feeling, a feeling of ahava. He wants to get involved. He wants to. Oh, thank you. He wants to do. He wants to participate. If there's anything to be done in the world, okay, I'm first. What can I do? What needs to be done? He's always open. He has a sense of ahava. Then there is a completely different reflection. Huh? Because the feeling of not the feeling, the recognition of abundant greatness that there is, that Hashem has given, that Hashem has provided in the world, gives a person a feeling of ahava. He wants to come close. He doesn't want to stay away. He wants to come close and be involved. Abba means love. And essentially, it means being in contact, coming close to it. Wants to be involved.
I don't understand. Is it something like he feels, not it, like since there's so much good things, he feels like he owes back, like
No.
somebody, like-
He just has his seichel tells him it's a good place. Get involved. Like Yosef Atzadik. He was in the prison, in the dungeon, and we discussed last week briefly. And yet he was in a dungeon and he was put there without his fault of false accusation and all that. But this didn't change his view. This was Petifus, this problem, but the view of what kind of world the Rebbeinu made, it didn't change at all. So when he came and he saw Pharaoh's ministers that they were sad, he didn't say, who cares? It's their problem. He didn't say that. He came up to them and says, oh, how come you're sad? What's bothering you? Maybe I can help you. Why? Because to him, in Hashem's world, there cannot be sadness. If you're sad, I want to try and alleviate that sadness. Then there's a person who has a completely different attitude, and they're all valid. The different attitude is, yes, of course, Hashem created abundance, but if I want an apple, I have to go and buy it. It's not going to come to me. I have to go work for it. I have to make my few pennies. I have to go to the store. I have to weigh it. I have to wait online until my turn comes to pay for it. Everything goes in a certain path, in a certain order. And he creates a view of the world that there is no abundance. He completely forgets about it. He sees only from the perspective of Gevura. How do you go from place A to place B? He thinks in a very limited, in a very precise manner. There's a person who says, you want to go from Seagate to Crown Heights? Well, Crown Heights is approximately here, Seagate is approximately here. You have to go and get to here. Okay, how do you go? You go these ways, but this is essentially what you're doing. There's another person who says, Seagate to Crown Heights, you have to make 10 different turns, and you have to stop on 50 different stop signs and lines. You have to be careful, make every turn correctly, and if not, you're a lost sheep. Completely different view. Who is right?
Both of them.
The both of them are right. It depends what seichel, what thing you apply your seichel to. How you view things. And the way you view things, this is how your midos are going to come out. This is the kind of midos that will come out.
So how would they be viewing it? Like if you were to say, the person that says, it's from here to here, like you said, how would he be viewing it, and how would the other guy be viewing it? Like
Positive. What's a positive and negative about it?
the one
No, he'll say, look, okay, did you ever get a driving directions from the computer? What do you call it? MapQuest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for every 2 feet, it gives it a name and it says go east, go west, go right, go left. and these are all the turns you have to take. And this is true, but a human being does not view this in this precise manner. He has an overview where he's going, and he's headed in a certain direction. All these turns don't disturb him. And say, oh, another turn, oh, another stop sign, oh, another red light. He goes his way because he knows where he's going.
So you see that if you would go through the positive way of looking, life is much easier. It goes much more. You go much more.
The thing is that you cannot ignore the other side either. You can't go through a stop sign. You're going to get a ticket, and if not worse, if not an accident. So you do have to pay attention to everything.
So you need to first.
Huh?
You need to first.
You need to first. The main thing is how you look at things, how you seichel works. So this illustrates to us, in very simple terms, how the seichel, how his bonus in seichel can change a complete view, and they're both correct, absolutely. And as a result, it changes. It focuses on different meters. A person who is careless, let's say, careless, not careless, who is careless, and who's gotten a package of tickets, and his license were revoked, he has to start thinking of what is the proper way of doing things. You can't say, oh, it's an abundant world. An abundant world is going to get abundant of tickets.
So you think about the fact that there's a cop probably at the corner, contemplate on the cop being there.
Well, yeah, you can contemplate on the cop, or you can contemplate that there is a right way of doing things. You know what I'm saying? There is a right way of doing things. That everybody has to know. There is a right way of doing things, even in this abundant world. If you want to participate, if you want to benefit from the abundant world, you have to learn how to do things properly. Can go through the wall. So this is what the Rebbe is explaining. Now we're talking about Ahava V'yira, Avodas Hashem. We're not talking about life in the world. And Avodas Hashem, which is related. What we illustrated now is related to Avodas Hashem. But we're talking about, because when we recognize that the greatness of the world is because we don't recognize the greatness of the world, we recognize the greatness of the Creator of the world. And He's created such a glorious world. Okay, so now we're going inside. So for every midah, there's a different seichel. Ukmoi, as for example, everyone has a place, right? Midah is chesed ugvura. Sheheim ba'avoida ahava v'yira. In avoida, meaning how that reflects itself in a person, how that affects a person, what type of feel, what type of relationship he has to Hashem. Chesed reflects in Ahava, and Gevura reflects in Yira. So for each one of these, Yesh Hizbonus Miyuchadus, there is a unique Hizbonus. Hamoyeveres es Ahava, that would arouse the Ahava. The Yesh Hizbonus Miyuchadus, Shemoyeveres es Hayira. Then there is a unique Hizbonus, that's Moyeres Hayira. Even though both of them are dependent on the Seichel, but Seichel itself can see things two different ways. Seichel itself can see things in two different ways. One way that will be Ered Ahava, one way that will be Ered here. The who, and that specifically is like this. Ki yodua she'ava mikore v'yira mirochik. Ava, the experience of Ahava and the feeling of Ahava comes from mikoriv, comes from being close, from a feeling of closeness. In feeling of closeness, that is Abba. And Abba also is expressed from a close proximity. The Yira Meirochik. Yira is when one wants to stand from a distance. He doesn't get close up.
I studied some Maimon over there was opposite, but when you laugh, when you feel you're far away from the person, so you start when you with bonus you're so far away from the God, so you start loving, and when you fear, it's like Yitzchak. It's when you're close to God, so it's like you afraid. It's it's more close to God, no? It's more essence, reveals essence of godliness, so you don't understand nothing, you start to fear.
Mi'ava Mikorev means that you want to come close. And Yira Meirochik means that you want to stay away.
Depends what you want, not like...
That's right. Depends what you want. And what you said is a very correct point. And we will discuss it as we go on. But Abba Mikorev means you want to relate in a close way. You want to know more about it. That's mean Abba. Hira means just, like a person says, there's a story of a big chassid, Zalman Moshe. I don't know if you may have heard of him, may not. Zalman Moshe HaYitzchoki. Zalman Moshe was a big chassid. You heard?
You have
Oh, we have the same remember.
There was a sefer about Zalman Moshe HaYitzchoki, that's right.
He was a dark skin chassid, dark skin.
I don't know.
in the picture he is.
The picture is. The Zalman Moshe, once the Frierdiker Rebbe was sitting, and people were sitting around the table. And the Frierdiker Rebbe called him over. He should come close. And he came up, and the Frierdiker Rebbe spoke to him quietly, like between a private talking. Privately spoke to him, said something in his ear. And then he went back to his place. So the Yester Drama said, what did the Rebbe say to you? He said, I don't know. I was just waiting for the moment when he will take his holy eyes off my dirty face.
Of my what?
Of my dirty face. Huh?
How does he say? I'm assuming, he look at Egan off my father's.
How does it play?
So listen, Ira is far with me. He wants to be far from God.
He doesn't want to be far. He wants to he's afraid to come close. So he wants to serve God, but serve God from a distance. Do all the mitzvahs, do everything, but I can't come close. Because he's overwhelmed by the greatness. What is when he's doing, he wants to come close. Pirush. Okay, here's the explanation. This is essentially the answer to your question. The teva ho'ahavohu, to explain the inyan that Abba mikorev, like you asked, but Abba is not mikorev. Abba is only if you were a little bit far away, because if you're very close, you get scared. He explains what it means, Abba mikorev. The teva ho'ahavohu lehiskarev. The nature of Abba is lehiskarev, to come close. Ulizdabek el hadover hanehav. Excuse me. Ulizdabek el hadover hanehav, and to cleave. Lizdabek means to stick, unite. El hadover hanehav, to this beloved thing. Ukteva hamayim ledabek. As we see in the nature of water, water is used to, he's saying water, begashmi is, this comes from midas hachesed. And one of the natures of water is the dabek, that it sticks. If you put water, it keeps things together. Huh? It sticks things together. If you
Big.
And water itself also, if something gets wet, water sticks to the surface. It doesn't. A lot of water runs off, but the water itself, that which touches the surface, sticks to it. Boom, and it comes. Al yidei kiruv hanehav el ha'oihev. It comes as a result of the nehav, of the beloved coming close to the oihev. But here, kiruv hanehav el ha'oihev means the expression, the demonstration of closeness that the nehav has to the oihev. She explains like this: as for example, the father who does very great kindness to his son. Kiyav as benoi yiratza. This is a pasuk. Kiyav as benoi yiratza, like a father comforts his son. Comforts. Iratza. Makes him feel good about himself. Iratza makes him comfortable. Shemeitiv imoy. He does good to him. B'mozoin ulevush. He feeds him and he clothes him. V'kirvas hashgachosei el olov miyem hivoldo. And he has a close oversight. He watches his son from the day of his birth, to see to it that he gets only the best in everything. V'chein b'raboi, and so to his Rav, Shalom de Chochma Midas Tevis, who taught him Chochma and taught him good qualities. Shalidei zeh nase ahava v'kiruv godel. As a result of this bestowing, granting, giving him a show of closeness, a show of concern, that results in Abba v'kiruv godel, a great closeness, mehaben v'hatalmid elovi v'rabi, from the son and the Talmud to his father and his Rab, because he senses, the Ben senses, or the Talmud has a sense and he feels how there's a concern that he should get the best and should be guided in the right way. That brings him close to his father and his Rab. Because there was an expression of closeness to him. Or k'moy Eved Melech, In the case of an Eved Melech, of a slave, of a servant of a king, Kasher HaMelech Meitiv Imoi, when the king does good to him, favors to him, Umiskare Ve'lov, and he shows closeness to him and shows concern for him, V'hainu, Shemispashet Elov Migdulas Chesed HaMelech. The Melech expresses to this Eved some of the greatness of the Chesed of the king. This Mispashet Elov Migdulas Chesed HaMelech means this. Just as we explained in principle of chesed, that chesed means an openness, unrestrained openness. So if the melech rewards his eved according to his desert, according to the effort of the eved, how much he deserves, so the melech needs a servant, and he has to feed him. So then the servant does not feel a special closeness, because he is given that which he needs in order to be able to serve. But if he becomes more abundant, more open to him, he grants to him favors that are not related to the service that the Eved did to him. Becomes a personal relationship. I like you. You can come. You can come anytime. That's a very special favor. That shows a closeness with the Melech. That the Melech wants the Eved to feel close to him. That arouses in the Eved an Ahava. And this is Pshat Mispashet of Migdulas Chesed HaMelech. One second. This is Gedulas Chesed HaMelech. What is the Chesed? Is also called Gedula. We say in Davnei Kil HaGodel HaGiber HaNeir. Godel refers to Chesed, and Giber is Gvura. And the same thing we say, so Gedula stands for Chesed. And in Tanya, he explains how Gedula is in HaChesed. Because, like we explained, what is Chesed? Chesed is an openness. And that he opens himself up without restriction, without restraint. Who can do that? Somebody who is godly. So he's godless. He can provide unlimited goodness. We'll come back to discuss this a little bit more a little later.
And why should Melech do this to Eved? Because he's loving too? Eved like Melech because he's Yored Me'Agdul Asra. But why should Melech love the Eved?
Because he recognizes in the Eved special fine qualities. He sees the Eved to be as being, let's say, a very honest person, very decent person. And like we have in this parsha, Yimtzu Yosef Chein. Yosef was liked by his master. Why? Because Yosef was an extremely dedicated and honest person. And the Potiphar, who was his master, had 100% trust in him. When Yosef was in the house, he didn't have to worry about anything. So of course he granted him abundance of closeness, of favor.
And it appears he's not believed to his wife too, but because he's not going against the wife, so he's put Yosef in jail.
Yeah, of course. He didn't believe, of course. If he would believed her, he would have killed Yosef. Because for such a thing, he deserved to be killed. So he put him away for a while, until the anger subsides. Of course he knew that. Mispashet elo bigdulas chesed hamelech. This is because, in other words, the melech can gives him chesed, showing to him his own greatness. In other words, if the melech gives just what the person deserves, then you don't see that the melech is great. If I do work, I have to get paid. Anybody has to be paid for his work. We said Migdulas Chesed HaMelech means that he gives him beyond because he reveals to him his personal greatness, the Melech's personal greatness. That really he's got unlimited resources, and you can come anytime and do anything you want, because he trusts him, because he has a special recognition of his special good qualities. And this gives birth, creates an ava in the heart of the Eved to the Melech. Because the Eved truly experiences. You understand what that means? He actually feels from close range the Melech's goodness and the Melech's greatness. And therefore, Neildo Ho'ava. Therefore, he gets Ava. Or be proud. And then, beyond that, particularly, Kasher Ho'eved Yoideya Umevin Gdulas HaMelech. And the Meved knows and understands the real greatness of this king. And he reflects to himself, he thinks that the Melech is so great, Mikol Mokoim, and yet still, Hareyu Miskareve Love, he comes close to him. The Melech, for some reason, shows a closeness to him, Falishin, and he, relative to the Melech, is the lowest of people. He's an Eved. By this reflection, Oy Tigdal Ho'ahava, the Ahava from the Eved to the Melech will become even greater. Yes, as says, the greater power, Lihidovek a love, that he wants to be close to the Melech.
What do you mean close to the Melech? To do something for him, or just be close to him?
Just being close to him, which means he wants to always see the Melech. He appreciates just seeing the Melech, and he wants to know more about the Melech. He wants to know more about the Melech's thinking, the Melech's ways, the Melech's desires, and he also wants to know more about his greatness. How great is his Malchus? How far it extends? All of these things interest him. Why? Because he has a love for the Melech.
You said see him, know him. What else does he want?
Know more about his kingdom.
In general, like,
To know how big an army he has, how big is the land that he rules, how many people are there. All of these things interest him.
okay.
Because all of that tells him about the Melech's greatness, and he loves him, so he wants to know everything about the Melech.
What if I do something for him?
That goes without saying. That goes without saying. But his kiruv means more than just kiruv. Kiruv means he wants to know, like two people, are friends that have ahava, and they come together. It's not a question of one doing something for the other. They want to know everything about the other.
And this part is from the Melech to the Eved, right?
Right. And that comes because the Melech had shown to him a closeness, a special care. This reflects by the Eved also a special relationship to the Melech. V'hayiro himerochek. And yiro is from a distance. What does that mean? V'hainu, which means Sheteva hayiro, the nature of yiro, who she'oise kivutz, hakivutz ubitul benefesh. Oise, it affects, it creates a contraction. Kivutz means contortion, contraction. Ubitul benefesh, and the beetle in his nefesh. She'oi made meirochek davke. He stands from a distance. V'yorei lo geshes, and he's afraid to come close, to approach. Ubo, and how does Yira, where is Yira coming from? Davko mehorichuk, it comes only, and specifically mehorichuk v'horoimus ladover hanoira, from the distance and the supremacy of this extremely great thing. Okay. In this discussing this Yira, we can clearly see that in both Abba and Yira, we are talking about what we would call a Yira, really Abba and real Yira. In other words, coming back to talk about our illustration, talking about the world. We said if a person reflects on the greatness that the Rebbeinu created in the world, he sees the great blessing that the Rebbeinu put into the world. He wants to be a participant. He wants to participate. He wants to do everything he can to show the greatness and to utilize this greatness for good things and so forth, and to fulfill Hashem's will and all that. Along with that, he wants to have a nice house, because he figures that a nice house will show that he thinks life is a good thing, and that the world is a good place. So he's showing that, he is causing people to appreciate that Hashem created a good world. But there's also the behemoth in a person. And the behemoth doesn't care anything about the world. Behemoth cares about itself. I have a nice, comfortable home. I don't care about anything else. And to him, this home only reflects about his own greatness. So I just want to point out, this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about, at the minimum, a human Abba, and a higher level even on a godly Abba. Because we see this from the Yira. Yira is fear. There are people who are just scared for themselves. They're not scared because they don't have Yira because they recognize the greatness of what's going on. They're just shy and reluctant. And they don't want to get involved. Just leave me alone. Let me stay in my little home. This is not a midah of Yira. This is just a character trait. This is a personality where the person is just enclosing himself and afraid to venture out. Yira does not mean he's enclosing himself and afraid to venture out. Yira means he fully recognizes what's going on. And he knows and he wants to know it. But, personally, he's out of respect. He cannot dare. He kind of withdraws because of his recognition of the greatness. Of the recognition of the greatness of the king. That's meant reimus. So this is not a yira on a personal basis. It's a yira that relates to the king, relates to the greatness. And therefore it's important to understand that both the Abba and the yira come from seichel. The Abba and the Yira come from recognizing the greatness of the king. Not that Yira, he's just sitting in his own room and he doesn't want to know anything. He recognizes the greatness of the king, but there are two ways that this can express itself. One way, he recognizes the greatness of the king and he wants to know more, he wants to come close to it. And the other way is where he is taken aback and he cannot. He doesn't want to come close. He's afraid to defile it. He's afraid that by his presence, he is actually. Where does he come, so to speak? How do I come into the king's palace? I don't deserve it. I can't. He wants to know everything. He wants to know everything. What's going on in the palace, how the king is and everything. But for himself to come close, how can he? How do I deserve it? How do I fit in there? What's a year?
It seems like that the yira seems to be more of like an acknowledgement of the essence of what the king really is. Because even when he thinks about how nice the king has been to him, so it doesn't change the fact that yet his relation to the king is completely
on a personal basis.
Yeah, his relationship with the king, it doesn't change the fact that he doesn't really have a relationship with the king. That when you get down to the essence of the king, what is he? He's lifted above the entire people. So therefore, when a person really realizes that that's a relationship, it seems it almost seems like the year is like the better informed needed to have, because when he focuses on the Abba, so yeah, the truth is the king is uplifted, but let me think about me for a moment and what he did to me.
Well, the truth is that Yira, and there is Yira Tato and Yira Ilah. You learned in Tanya, right? There's Yira. What we're talking about is Yira Ilah, Reimamus. When you recognize it, the Reimamus HaMelech. And Yira, in fact, is higher than Abba. Yira Ilah is like higher than Abba. Because Like you said, because here it relates to the essence of the king himself. Whereas Ahava relates more to the Giluyim, to the expressions of the king. And here relates more to the essence.
What is the contrast with Yira Tato? If Yira Allah is Renus?
Right.
So what's Yira Tato?
Yirat Torah is the fear is fear to transgress. Is Yirat Torah.
But it brings in the.
Let me explain to you. You go into the king's palace. There could be two effects, two mental recognitions. One is, wow, this is overwhelming. This is overwhelming. And the other is, I better walk in the right line. I better not make any mistake. I better not make any mistake. That's Yirat Torah. This is overwhelming. That's Yirat. He actually recognizes where he is. Whereas the other one is not so much concerned where he is, he's concerned about how that reflects on him.
So it's very similar to Abba in that respect, that you recognize the grace of the king, but what does that mean in relation to me? How I better prepare?
Yeah, but right. It's in that respect it's similar, but in Ahava he actually appreciates it, actually experiences it, whereas in Yira he's not.
Right, were you to put it in order, it would be something like Yira Tota, and then Ahava Tota, and then Ahava Ira, and then Yira Ira.
That's right. In order to have Avas Hashem, you have to have Yira first. Because if you don't have Yira, which means you are Yesh and Dover B'fnei Atzma, you won't have Ahava. The minute you have Yiras Hashemayim, then you can start. Then you recognize that you're actually in Hashem's world, you're not in your own world. Then you can start thinking in terms of having of Ahava.
But according to what you just explained, isn't Ira also a way of Yeshut? Like what's going to be with me if I don't walk straight? What's going to happen with me? It's all centered.
Yes, but it's not. The focus. See, when you talk about me, it could be if the focus is on the me, then it's yeshus. But if the focus is on the melech, then it's not yeshus. Yiras Shamayim. Yiras Shamayim means, like I said, I better do the right thing. The lowest level of Yirat Torah is I'm afraid to be punished. That's when it's focused on yourself. But if the fear is not just of being punished.
Is that called Yiras Shamayim?
Huh?
Is that called Yiras Shamayim?
Afraid of being punished is also called Yiras Shamayim. This is the lowest. This is the lower level. But and that level is also useful. Not to make a mistake. That's very useful in life. One has to. The first thing. Not be a fool and say, yes, you should be afraid to be punished, so that you don't do the wrong thing. And then you have to go to the next step. Because the Yetzer Hara is a behemoth, and the behemoth doesn't know anything else. The behemoth doesn't know anything else. And if the behemoth is not going to be afraid of being punished, so he's going to let you be flying in the air and have a Yirei law. In the meantime, let me get my little taiva.
So really the highest level.
Right?
In a certain way, it seems to be a higher level. Like,
What?
because when you feel like everything is nice and you're connected, and even if you feel some kind of amazement, but the small things, it's like you don't. It's much higher to say no.
The proper thing is no question. You can't skip around. No, but you can't skip. You have to go from every step. You have to cover the whole path from bottom all up.
How does that work? That's the question. There's not a stairway, like you know where you're standing. Like, now I should be afraid of punishment because I haven't been able to reach higher than that. Or Or it's more the tale of the
You don't
person,
have to, no, that doesn't necessarily work that way. You don't have to know exactly where you're at. You have to know if you have Yiras Shamayim, then automatically your mind and heart opens up, and you recognize Hashem's presence in your life, and then you're able to go high. And if you don't have Yiras Shamayim, then all you're learning about Hashem is all imaginary. It's not real.
Why is it though, if that's the correct order, why is it like, for instance, in this mimer, and if I remember correctly, also in the third part of Tanya, it always brings Abba before it brings Yira. Like here we start talking about the idea of being close to the king, and then the idea of being close to the king.
Here he's talking about Yiras Oreimus,
Okay.
and that really comes after Abba. That's a real Yira Piseichel. That's Yira. I'm sorry? I mean, kibbutz means contraction, being restrained, not express himself. Bittul, yeah, same thing. Bittul bina, right. There is in general in this, it could be Ava alone, it could be Ava Tator, depending of what the emphasis is. If the Ava is how good the Melech is to me, it's Ava Tator. If the Ava is how good the Melech is, then it becomes Ava alone. We don't have much time. We just touch upon this point. Okay, that Yira is merochik, and it comes exclusively from a sense of distance, and the Reimus Adavar Haneira. Reimus means how this great thing is really supreme, so completely superior to where I am. Not only to where I am, that's a relative thing. Really, real supremacy is something that is supreme in a real absolute way. There are two types of supremacy. Supremacy in relative, this is greater than this. There is great, and then there is greatness. Greatness is something which is not the expression of greatness is not in a relative way that when you compare one thing to the other. It's what's called essential greatness. So to illustrate this, I'll go down to mamish to a worldly thing so we can clearly see it, and then we'll go to something higher. If somebody works and he has a salary and is able to pay his bill, so he has a normal life. Somebody who's got a business and he has more money than he needs to spend on a weekly basis. So he's saying he is greater, his wealth is greater than this one. But he too, his wealth is also limited. He has a little bit more freedom, and he can. He doesn't have to be so careful about what he buys and how he buys. But still, he's very limited. Then there is somebody who has got a bigger business and all that. You can see that there are different levels. Then there is what's called abundant wealth. Abundant wealth is not just that his wealth is able to support him without concern. You know, he can buy anything he wants. Abundant means that there's no way he can ever expend all his wealth, because it's abundant. This is what's called abundant, greatness. Like there are Baruch Hashem, there are people even that are wealthy, and the Rebbe gave them seichel, and they know what to do with their money. And let's say somebody, let's say this person is producing these Bidvar Malchus. It's a whole operation. The Baal, So this is one of the small things that he does. Every week they produce Bidvar Malchus. This is an extremely, extremely expensive operation. You can imagine. And many people have to work on this, to put it together, and they have to typeset it, and they have to print it, and send out thousands and thousands of copies all over the world. It's a very expensive thing. This is one of the small things that he does. In other words, he was able, think of this, he was able to say, do this whatever it costs. It doesn't matter. Because without that, if you're going to put a limit, you couldn't produce this. You have to be able to say whatever it will cost, you can do it. Only one who has that level of wealth can say such a thing. A wealthy person has to say, look, I can contribute this much. But you can't say, it cannot be unlimited. The same thing, all kinds of different things that people are doing, wonderful things, and they have to be able to do it in a manner that has no restraints. The same thing is in terms of seichel. There is a person we can learn. There's a person who can learn more. A bigger lamb, a smaller lamb, a person who has a deeper understanding, a lesser understanding. Then there is a person whose insight and understanding knows no limit. There's just nothing that he doesn't know. Nothing that he cannot delve into and understand. This is called Reimus. This is supremacy. So when you talk to somebody who is smarter, and so forth, yes, you're mispoiled, you're affected by his wisdom. But you're not bottled. You're affected, oh yeah, very nice, so he really knows a lot. But you don't become bottled because it's within reason, within realm. There's a limit to it. But when it's limitless, and it's beyond knowledge. It's not the kind of knowledge that you acquire by struggling and learning. It's a kind of, like by Moshe Rabbeinu it says. Moshe Rabbeinu was in the mountain, and in 40 days he learned the whole Torah. It says, Hoy miskasha Moshe. Moshe had a difficult time absorbing so much knowledge in 40 days. Hashem gave it to him b'matana. He gave him the Torah b'matana. This is something else completely. It's his. He gave it to him. And this is the pshat, Hayir me'amelech, K'mei aderech moshel. I didn't say it, I'm saying, aderech moshel, Hayir me'amelech. The fear of the king is mitzad haflo'osei v'reimamus. It's not the fear of the king because of some kind of a quality, some kind of a relative quality. He's bigger, he is wealthier, he is more powerful. No, because he's in a different realm, different world. Shemerumim min ha'am u'muvdal mehem. He is supreme and moved and separated. He can't mix because they're not in the same category. This greatness and this greatness don't mean the same word, the same thing. This is the pshat, is merumah. And this separation, this brings about yira. If you have to talk to somebody who knows and understands more than you don't have a sense of yira. A sense of respect, yes, but not a sense of yira. You're going to go over and ask a question. Because your question is in line, makes sense from the perspective of the person that you're asking. He knows the answer, you don't know the answer. That's the whole difference. But essentially, you more or less think on the same. You can understand that this is a question. Then you're talking about somebody who is in a completely different category. So this question, this is like I'm making a joke. It's a child's play. So you misspell from the rails. You're afraid even to open your mouth with a question.
Why? You afraid he's going to think you're stupid, like, or?
No. See, that's the very important thing to understand. Not because you're afraid for yourself. This is just you're overwhelmed. The respect is such that you can't violate. You can't disturb this type of greatness. It's not because you're afraid for yourself that he's going to think of you one way or another. It's beyond that completely. It's the respect and the awesomeness of the greatness of the thing itself. I see that we have a difficulty in relating to this, so in Mitzvah Shem next time we'll discuss the whole Indian. We discussed it before, the power of seichel, because we think the whole time about the midah, but we have to understand what seichel is. Seichel is not my own feeling. Seichel is relates and understands the truth of the Indian itself. Mitzvah Shem next time, okay? Yeah.
When you were saying about Avo, and that the lower level of Avo is Ira, Abba, Ira, right?
Mm.
So Abba Ilah, I don't know how it goes. It's when it's not Almida, that it's Geshatzman, it's not focusing yourself.
Right.
So it seems to be even higher than Ira. It doesn't even seem to be Avo, because it seems to be like the other Mimer will learn that there is midas that are that are higher, that it doesn't come from a reason. There's no time. It's just beyond. So even Avo or Ira should be in the same. It's the same idea that Abba than the Ira. So the idea of Ira is that you don't feel yourself. It's completely out. And this Avo is not what you feel for you. It's completely beyond your material, no? So how is it that?
No, even there, there's Ahava and Yira. Yira, the Ahava, even though this is, like you said, it's beyond Seichel, nevertheless, it has to do with a personal experience. This is no. Well, the Ava is a Hergeshatz. The Ava itself is a personal experience, whereas Yira is only the negative. You were staying away. There isn't a personal experience in this. It's unlimited. Let me explain to you from simple terms. if I say to you, this is 1 cup, right? What? Yeah, that's what. Wait, hold on, okay. This is 1 cup. Okay. Right. So I told you exactly how much I have. I have 1 cup. I said, this is not 2 cups. Did I tell you what it is? Could be 3, could be 10, could be 1,000.
Could be a book.
What?
Could be a book. It's not a cup. Could be anything.
Do you understand? So there is no experience as to what it is. This is the Ayira Onav. Ayira is, I can't relate to him. Abba means I'm completely overtaken by my feeling for him. But it's still a feeling. There's still a positive thing involved.
So how is there a feeling if we were saying that it's beyond the heritage?
No, it's beyond the seichel. The Abba comes, not beyond the heritage. The Abba comes from a seichel, from that source in the nefesh that is higher than seichel.
There's no reason.
There's
for
no
that.
reason.
It's,
Right.
But still, there is an.
But it's still an experience.
Speak.
Rabbi Lipsky wants it. Yes.
Ah, it just really answers some hard ones. I was hearing the tape from your son.
I'm sorry,
I
what?
was listening a tape from your son who compares Gebura with potential. So according to what you just explained, it makes perfect sense because if Gebura means only that this is not it, there's potential for anything else.